Hello gardening friends, I am super excited today to bring you the next video in our series on square foot gardening. Today we're going to plant cucumbers. I'm going to add another square onto our square foot bed area. I'm going to fill it with Mel's Mix. We're going to talk about varieties of cucumbers, and we're going to talk about trellising, because I'm going to use a trellis to make the most efficient use of my space in the square foot garden. I'm also going to show you some cucumbers that I already have growing, show you how they're growing. Let's get down to the garden and get to it. Here we go. Okay, so now we're ready to plant our cucumbers. But first, let's talk a little bit about cucumbers and cucumber varieties. There are many varieties of cucumbers. There are varieties that have been specifically made for pickling, and those kind tend to be sort of short and stubby, and they tend to be a little bit bitter if you're just going to eat them. So they're not the best ones to put in our square foot garden, because mostly we're going to use this for table cucumbers where we just slice them up and eat them. There's other ones that are called slicers, or one of my favorite varieties, I think this is a Burpee brand, but it's called a muncher, and it's a really delightful cucumber that you can slice up and eat right from the garden. Slice it up and take it to your table and just munch it on down, because it's really a nice sweet tasting cucumber. Also, there are varieties that are labeled as bush cucumber, similar to the way they label the tomatoes as bush tomatoes. But I have never grown those bush cucumbers. From what I've seen, they don't send out quite as many vines. So we're going to use a trellis, so we're going to go up to make the most of our garden space. I personally have never grown one that says it's more of a bush cucumber, but I guess you could do that for a square foot garden. But we're going to use a trellis and go up, so it doesn't really matter because they're going to go up, so they're not going to be getting into the other square foot spaces. So let's go ahead and plant our seeds. I have some seeds that I saved from another year when I planted these muncher cucumbers. So I'm going to go ahead and plant those seeds. We're going to put the trellis in on this side of the bed so that it'll go up here. And this is sort of the northeast side so that it won't shade the rest of our square foot bed. That's something you have to think about too. And these are saved seeds, so I'm going to plant, actually I'm going to plant a lot of these seeds. I'm going to make a groove right here, plant a bunch of seeds in here, and then I'll thin them down till there's only 2, maybe 3 at the most, and then the vines will go up and we'll have a lot of cucumbers. So you need to go about 1/4 inch deep on these guys. And I'm planting them at the edge so that the trellis will be right by the cucumbers, and the roots can come out this way into the square foot bed. Alright, so we'll just smooth the soil over the seeds, give them a little pat to pack them down in there, and they're ready to go. Now we just have to work on getting the trellis up. But before I do that, let me go ahead and show you some of the cucumbers that I have already growing in my garden in other spots. Here's a nice cucumber vine that's got a lot of blooms, a lot of baby cucumbers and adolescents. There's one back here. And they have a couple adults too. Look at this one. Camera down here. Yeah, look at that one. That one's a perfect size for picking. See, that's perfect size for picking. You don't want to let them get bigger than this because they will tend to get a little bit bitter, especially on the ends. Sometimes I'll cut like 1/4 inch off the ends because they can tend to be a little bit bitter. When they get to this stage where they're starting to have a lot of babies and a lot of adolescents, you have to be very close watch on them because they'll go from this to a humongous cucumber very, very quickly. So you really need to check them every day, and make sure you pick them before they get too huge too, because like I said, they'll get bitter. But also, if they go the whole way to adult and to like a grandparent cucumber, they will start putting their energy into preparing their seeds for growing cucumbers the next season. And once a cucumber is fully matured, it's going to take a lot of energy out of your vine, and your vine is going to stop producing. So make sure that you pick them like this. And I mean, if you miss one for a couple days and then you can pull it off, your vine's going to be okay. If you want to try to save your seeds, what you do is you let one stay on the vine till it's really, really mature, and it'll turn yellow and it'll be full of seeds, and then you can just cut it open, take the seeds out, and let them dry on a paper towel, and you have some seeds for next year. Now, you don't really want to do that if you have a hybrid, because you're not going to be sure what the seeds are going to come out like. But if you have like an heirloom cucumber, you can definitely do that. Now we just have to get our trellis made. Okay guys, here's what I'm going to use for trellising for my square foot garden cucumbers. This is a piece of concrete mesh. Some people will, well, I in fact use this for my tomatoes. Sometimes I'll make tomato cages out of it. I'll just curl it in a round section for my tomatoes to grow up inside. There's a lot of things you can use for trellising. I mean, you can make a wooden one out of scrap wood if you have scrap wood around. That's a good way to make a trellis. You can use cattle panels, which is actually more sturdy than this concrete mesh is. But the important thing is to have something for the vines to climb up. Cucumbers and other vines are going to want to grow. In fact, I'll show you some cucumbers that I have growing now, and they're tendrils that they put out to grab around something and to grow up it. They'll grow up anything. So yeah, I'm going to put this at the edge of the bed, and then I'm going to put a stake right in the middle, because one stake will give this enough support. This thing is about as far as I can reach, so it's probably 6 or 7 feet. Well, probably 7, maybe 8 feet. This might be a 4 by 8 foot piece actually. So yeah, I'll put it right at the edge of the bed, and then I'll put a stake in it, drive the stake in the ground, and then fasten this to the stake. Alright, so let's get going. Go ahead and rest it on the ground. I could actually pull it up and make it 6 inches above the top of my square foot bed, but I think I have enough space to go up that it won't be a problem, and it'll be a little more sturdy if I put it the whole way down on the ground. Alright, that's great. I'm going to go ahead and get some wire to put around the post to hold the mesh in place. Alright, so now shortly we're going to have some nice juicy cucumbers going up and producing on that trellis. Okay, here's another piece of the concrete remesh that I used to make a trellis also. Or this is actually a tomato cage that I just planted cucumbers in this year. And you can see how the cucumbers like to climb. I've done basically nothing with these guys, but they put out these tendrils. See that tendril right there? And it wraps around anything it can get close to, anything small enough for it to wrap around, and it holds the vine in place. And now see, here's another one that's going out from the top, and it's looking for somewhere to attach to. So if I want this to stay inside, which is a good idea, all I have to do is just push it inside like that, and this tendril will wrap around, eventually wrap around there and hold it in place. So you can see these are going up. You know, I got to thinking that this actually would be a good way to do a square foot garden too. Just make a round circle of your concrete mesh, concrete wire they call it too, concrete wire. Just make a round circle that's going to fit inside your square foot bed, and then you could plant like 3 cucumbers or thin to 3 cucumbers around the circumference of the circle, and it would go right up inside your bed that way. That would be another great way to do it. You can see I got some cucumbers on here. These are actually ready to be picked. Some tender slicing cucumbers. And there's a little baby adolescent. I can't wait to see what your cucumbers do. Remember, you can post them on the hashtag single square foot garden. If you haven't seen the beginning of the square foot gardening series, I'll leave a link up here so that you can see that, so you can get caught up on how to build the square foot garden and how to make the Mel's mix and how to put everything together. And I will put a link over here for a video that YouTube says that you will like. So YouTube probably knows you better than you know yourself, so trust that link. Alright, I'll leave the camera rolling for a few seconds here while you can choose where you want to go now. Alright, thanks for watching. Have a blessed day. See you all again real soon.